Good Friday morning, everybody. Welcome to Screen Junkies Universe here on Fandom Entertainment. It's Fan Friday, which means that Roxy Streyer's here.
That's true, Dan. That's true.
But what I love about Fan Friday is we like to treat the fans, and what more of a treat for us and for the people watching than to have our guests here on SJU today. Leonard and Jesse Malton are here.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
We are going to get to, there's obviously the big story happening in entertainment this weekend. We'll talk about it a little bit, and then we also have some questions from the fans. But before we get to any of that, first of all, while we would love to have the chat going and maybe have the fans ask you some questions as the show is going, we found from yesterday's movie fights that there are some in the chat who perhaps would like to spoil the fun for those of our viewers that have not seen Avengers Endgame. So,
what is Avengers Endgame?
It's a small indie movie that's opening this
Love
weekend.
it. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotta support those indie films, man.
We really want to highlight it because not a lot of people know about it, and this is a
Exactly.
platform to do so.
Yeah.
Also, I hope those people get salmonella because it's not like too bad of a wish, but also get out of the
Solid.
chat.
No, because you can't say cancer. That's just too
That's
far.
mean.
No.
Salmonella.
But, you know,
Salmonella
Yeah.
will come and go, but it will be uncomfortable while they have it.
Yes.
It'll be unpleasant.
And that's what they deserve for wanting to do what they want to do. I mean, really.
That's
come
my
on,
wish.
guys.
That's
Come
so
on.
not fun. So unfortunately, we can't have the chat going like we usually would. We'll have it back up next week. But maybe if someone wants to tweet us some questions or something, we can check it out. We also have some great ones here. But before we get to any of that, I want to talk to you two about an event that's coming up, a very special event. I'm super excited about it. I can't wait to go. Malton Fest.
Malton Fest,
Your own film festival.
our very own film festival. First time ever.
I know.
And it's our maiden voyage, and we're very excited about it. And it's going to take place right here in Hollywood, USA, at the Egyptian Theater, Sid Grauman's historic Egyptian Theater on Hollywood Boulevard, where the American Cinematheque, they call it home, actually, 52 weeks a year. We're going to call it home for one weekend, May 10th through 12th, Friday to Sunday. And we're going to show 9 feature films, and each one will be accompanied by a classic short or cartoon. And the theme of the festival is hidden gems, films that kind of flew under the radar that people didn't see. These are movies that we really like and care about that didn't find the audience we think they deserve.
Like Avengers Endgame.
Exactly.
Similar.
Perfect example
Perfect
of what,
example.
you know.
But for every Avengers Endgame that the whole world knows about, I mean, but it's one of the things. Everybody knows this movie is here, even people who don't care about it, and there are a few, or don't follow comic book movies, that's not their thing. They still know it exists. But there are good films, really good films that come along that somehow just don't have big stars to promote it, or don't have the money behind it to get the kind of advertising promotion they need, and that people somehow miss out on. And it happens every year. And we have accumulated some of our favorites, some of our all-time. Alexander Payne, great filmmaker, one of my favorite filmmakers. People know Election, About Schmidt, Sideways, The Descendants with George Clooney. They know those films, but hardly anybody seems to know his first movie that he wrote with Jim Taylor, his longtime writing partner, Citizen Ruth. Have you seen it?
I have not. I remember hearing about it, but I never saw
Well,
it.
there you go. Case in point.
Yes.
It stars this little-known actress, Laura Dern.
Never heard of her.
And
And Laura's coming, and so is Alexander Payne.
That's
They're
awesome.
going to be there for our screening. And that's an example of the kind of film we're programming. We have a great film called...
can you tell he's excited?
Yeah, I
we
love
have a
that.
great film for opening night called Sing Street.
Oh,
Well,
I love Sing Street.
Oh, good.
You're too, because we are starting the 4 o'clock screening that Friday, May 10th.
Is Please Give.
Is Please Give, because he's obsessed with Nicole Holliff Center.
Nicole Holliff Center
Obsessed.
makes
Who's also coming.
wonderful movies.
She's coming with her film, and my fingers are crossed that we can also get Catherine Keener, because I'm obsessed with her.
Does that mean they're introducing the films, or they're viewing them with you?
It was, at the very least, a Q&A after the film. In some cases, we haven't figured out if there'll be an intro as well. But their presence will be known and felt, and they want to share with the audience. They want to share their film with the audience, and they want to hear the response, and look, they want to get the kind of recognition for something that meant something to them that maybe they didn't get the first time around. We're giving them a second shot on a big screen. And the Egyptian Theater has one of the biggest screens in Hollywood.
Massive thing.
And it's so exciting to watch movies there, which we just did 2 weeks ago at the TCM Classic Film Festival. And
Tell
frankly,
them what you said at the end of the...
Oh, well, I introduced one of the last films of the weekend there, which was a silent film starring Greta Garbo with a live musical accompaniment. And I sat closer than I usually do because of the configuration of having to get up and speak and then get right back to my seat. And as I sat there looking up at this ginormous screen, I said, hey, in a couple of weeks, we're going to be showing stuff on that screen. It's kind of sank in.
When the movie ended, he was like, Jesse, it's going to be ours next time.
It's going to be our stuff.
So sweet.
And I
That's
love
awesome.
it. But it's true. But that is what's so exciting. Obviously, one of the things you'll read as you look is it's a Malton family production. We're missing one Malton today. She's about this big. This big? This big.
No.
Small. Very small.
But
my
mighty.
mom. Very small but mighty. That is how we describe my mom. Small but mighty. It's the three of us. And everything that we're doing is the three of us. Plus our now honorary Malton, Stacy. Stacy Howard is a huge part of why any of this is happening because
Yeah.
she's been my partner in all of this stuff.
But because of wanting to show the short subjects, these are all vintage shorts and cartoons
Oh, that's
with
great.
modern day features.
Mm-hmm.
It's an idea that I've done at USC in my class for many years. And the idea is, this is where I get in my licks for film history just a little bit.
We like to say he
And-
forces film history upon you.
Yeah. And take you back in time for a little bit before you come to the present day. So we're going to have a bouncing ball cartoon from the Max Fleischer studio where you have to sing along. You don't have to, but you
I will.
Oh
could
no,
choose to sing along.
if you don't
Yeah.
sing, he gets real mad. Like it is when sometimes his students, depending on who you get, some of them are too cool. They're not going to sing the bouncing ball. He is full voice, just like she reminds me of you. He's in there. He's in there hard.
We have some cool stuff. We have some cool stuff coming.
Yeah.
So we've called on friends and
My mom likes to say,
colleagues.
if you can't abuse your friends, who can you abuse?
It's true.
So everyone who's ever been
point.
nice to us is so sorry right now
the
because we
UCLA
are
Film and
just...
Television Archive is providing 35 millimeter prints.
Paramount.
The Academy, Motion Picture Arts and Sciences has been a great help to us. Paramount, Warner Brothers,
Archive.
Universal, they've all come through with these, odd and but wonderful short subjects to accompany the films, and we're really excited.
Well, they're sorry, Roxy.
How many months have you guys been working on this for? Because I keep watching the Fire Fest documentaries and how they decided to throw everything together. It sounds like you guys are so prepared and you have everything figured out. How long does something like this take?
That's all Jessie. This was Jessie's brainchild. It really was. She pushed me. She's been pushing me in this direction for a while, saying I ought to do a film series or some sort of a regular scheduled event, and I've been kind of on the fence about it. And finally it boiled down to, let's do a weekend-long festival. Let's do something where our reach doesn't exceed our grasp, something we can actually handle. And
We have two mottos. One is the path of least resistance, and the other one is we don't make them, we just show them.
Yeah.
That's actually, we had, so our movie theater at our old house, which is to say the screen we pulled down from the ceiling, my dad's projector on the other side, we always show classic movies, and that was the motto. So before, when all of our
they
friends were
weren't
sitting
classic
there,
movies. They were old movies.
Yeah, no, they weren't classic
But
at
they
all.
weren't classic.
Not classic.
The only request I had right before I was going to leave for college, it was going to be our last movie night. And we'd been doing this my entire life. My dad and I made the programs by hand, all that stuff. It was just a bunch of our, and again, this is not a movie theater. This is friends on our couch in our living room with the screen. So it's not fancy, but it was for us. And my mom made a whole thing about buying snacks. We're Jews, everybody has to be fed.
I feel you on that.
But it was, that was the main thing. My
The
dad
house
would bring
motto.
me in. My dad would bring me in and say, you say it. He said, we don't make them, we just show them. Which is to say, this could be terrible, but you get bragging
We're going
rights.
to watch it anyway.
And the last one we did before I went to college, I said to my dad, can we just show a good movie instead of a rare one? Like, could we just show something people are really going to like? And we showed Bulldog Drummond because Ronald Colman is just never a bad time.
Bulldog Drummond Strikes Back, to be precise.
This is what I live with. this is,
Starring the great Ronald Colman, great star of Hollywood's golden age,
Yeah.
with one of the most beautiful speaking voices ever recorded on film.
I'm in the library, Benita.
Yes, and a wonderful movie.
Yeah. The answer is I've been working on this for a very long time. And there's so many different things that I pushed him to do a podcast. Pushing is basically my job, because I always feel that the first thing is people don't know how funny my dad is, because he's very professorial and that's how he comes off. And so for a lot of people, he's Leonard Maltin with books. But the truth is, if you just get to hear him talk, he's a fanboy, which you wouldn't understand.
No.
He's a fanboy and just loves all of this stuff so much. And I knew that he needed a better platform for that. But with Maltin Fest, and a big part of this comes from, like the Schmodown and you guys have movie fights. But people love this. They love having the internet community that they do, because some of those Facebook pages I have friends who have met each other from across countries, in different countries completely, because they don't necessarily have friends who love to nerd out about movies.
And part of what Jesse insisted be a core idea of this gathering is to bring people together, to have not a virtual community, a real community.
Yeah.
And to spend a weekend with like-minded people, to get to meet other film buffs, film lovers, and to have some activities as well. So we're going to have 2 podcasts recording live in front of our audience. Doug Benson is going to do Doug Loves Movies on opening night.
With Sam Levine and Amy Miller.
And it's partly because he loves Sing Street too.
He loves
Yes.
Sing Street.
He's going to help introduce that film on Friday night. And then Joe Dante and Josh Olson have a very good podcast called The Movies That Made Me.
And it's presented by Trailers from Hell, which they do.
Which is their
and
site.
that's on Sunday, and they're doing it with him, and it's just all, again, movie nerd talk. So because this is happening over Mother's Day weekend, also because I've learned so much doing this, and we were just talking about it, but we've been to about 7 million film festivals. That's a guesstimation, but it's close. And so I knew exactly what I wanted to create. Like, I love Fantastic Fest because it is one of the warmest, kindest groups of people.
That's in Austin,
and
Texas.
People are just so happy there. Because everyone is respectful, everybody's there to have a good time. And when they go in to see a movie, there's none of this, all right, show me a good movie. No, everybody wants everything to be good. So I love that. Again, inspired by the schmoes and everything else of just people meeting each other and getting a chance to make new friends, all that kind of thing. It's so important. And so for us, all right, let's choose movies that are a lot of fun. Let's choose movies that we really want to share. And frankly, even if you don't like the film, you don't have to like anything. It's not about that. But it's the experience of being in a theater, a beautiful theater, with all kinds of people around you, and everyone with the same mindset of let's enjoy this and let's be respectful to each other. And that's really the main.
And become an audience.
Yeah.
Streaming is great. Streaming and Blu-ray and all these things, all these possibilities exist now, where you can watch almost anything at home, alone. But it's a great convenience.
Yeah.
We all use it. But better is coming out and being part of an audience, a communal gathering where you're in the dark, watching a screen that's larger than life. This one very much larger than life, and having an experience together.
But so
As
we're
anyone
doing
who watches this show knows, Leonard, you are a man after my own heart.
Preaching to the choir. You literally sound like Dan. The same words.
If you grow a beard, we won't know who's who.
Yeah.
It's a
And
beautiful
on
thing.
Sunday morning.
So Sunday is Mother's Day. We're doing this over Mother's Day weekend. It's how it worked out with Cannes and all these other festivals, trying to find a good spot. We still end up going up against other things, but it is what it is. But so that Sunday is Mother's Day, and so we're doing a few things. The first is in the morning we're doing a book signing. Everything we're trying to do is supporting friends and really good companies that we love and want to introduce people to. So Sunday is a book signing, and we've got 9 authors, including him.
Including
Film books.
our friend Alicia Malone.
Alicia Malone, that's
will be
right.
there,
Exactly.
correct?
Buddy
Yes.
Alicia.
Alicia's going to introduce a movie.
And we've got, so Larry Edmonds, which is a wonderful bookstore, an actual bookstore that exists, like with books in it that
has
you walk
walls?
into.
And is a world famous film bookstore, maybe the most famous movie bookstore in the world.
And so getting to support authors and bookstores is very important to us.
And if you like, you could have a book inscribed to your mother.
Yes,
There
on
you
Mother's
go.
Day. But this is part of it. We haven't announced this bit yet, but anybody who has a badge can bring their mother for free on Sunday.
Oh.
because
so cute.
because no, it's look, everybody's always looking for an activity on Mother's Day. We know because every year my mom says no, I don't want to do anything, and we know that's a lie. So we have to scramble and figure something out. Well, this would be something where come for a book signing. We're also doing mimosas with my mother at that time. Get drunk with Alice. Why not? She bought these plates.
Not drunk. Get a little buzz.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think he's ever used that word. Very, very good.
Everybody likes to get a little buzz.
Yeah.
But it's that morning is supposed to be let's hang out, let's talk, meet each other, very friendly, relaxed atmosphere. The courtyard at the Egyptian is such a pretty place to be. So that's Mother's Day, and our closing night movie, which everybody's giddy about, is Bela Lugosi meets a Brooklyn gorilla, and the print that we're showing is Bela Lugosi's. It's Bela Lugosi's actual print of the movie.
That's
What?
that's amazing.
To which many of our friends have said, why would he own this movie? But
We don't know the backstory.
not?
We do know that Bela Lugosi Jr., who was a fairly well-known attorney in the show business world, donated his father's prints to the Academy just 4 or 5 years ago, and one of them was this film, which doesn't exist in 35 millimeter anywhere else that we can find.
can't get it.
And it's got a few splices and scratches, but this is the kind of crummy movie, delightfully crummy movie, that you would almost expect to see with splices and scratches.
Yes.
Not so many that it renders it,
Unwatchable.
Unwatchable. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
It's just going to be fun.
Well, there's a link in the description below. You can get more info. You can find out how to buy tickets. You can see the full schedule. I know that so many people, as we're about to talk about the culmination of the MCU so far, I've seen so many people talk about how much they would love for things to be slightly different and to be able to see what our friend John Schnepp would have thought of this. His film, The Death of Superman Lives, is part of the program.
Saturday night.
That's Saturday night's
night.
movie, and Holly is bringing it for us. She's going to introduce the film. She's going to be selling copies after the fact. That's the only place you can get one at this point is through Holly.
And it's for people who haven't seen it,
It's a great film.
it's a terrific
It's a really great
documentary
documentary.
about the film that never was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Film that almost was.
Yeah.
Film
The
that-
Death of Superman Lives.
What happened?
What
Yeah.
happened? Yep.
But yeah, so that's Saturday night, and we're so excited about it.
And Scott Alexander and Larry Karaszewski are coming with their
Big
film Big
Eyes.
Eyes.
Phil Rosenthal with Exporting Raymond. He's the creator of Everybody Loves Raymond, and that documentary is one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life.
So many great, just a great programming lineup.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm super pumped. I can't wait.
The last thing I'll share is that today, so April 24th of last year, it was announced that it was Leonard Maltin Day in the city of Los Angeles, and this happened at the courthouse downtown at the
City Hall.
The City Hall downtown courthouse. He was being arraigned. We're City Hall downtown. That happened. So in honor of that, the last 3 days, and it ends tonight at midnight PST. You can get $20 off of any ticket that you buy with the code Maltin Day. And if you're a film student or a film teacher, you can get the entire weekend badge for $25. And you don't have to give me your resume, anything. Some of the emails I've gotten have been so funny. But yeah, just tell me you're a film student, you're a film teacher. You can email us at maltinfest@gmail.com and you'll get your whole badge for $25 for the weekend.
Maltin Fest, that is Friday, May 10th through Sunday, May 12th. Check out the description below. Get tickets. It's going to be a great time. I'm super excited. But this weekend, what we'll be screening, perhaps in the Egyptian, but certainly in every other movie theater around the Egyptian, Avengers Endgame is open today. Our own Eric Goldman, just put out a story on Fandom. There's a link that's also in the description. 8 key story moments from the MCU. He talks about moments from Captain America: The First Avenger, the inciting incident in Civil War. So many moments over 11 years from the MCU. I think we've all at this point, and we're not going into Endgame at all, but I'm just in the beginning of my journey on this path, but and Roxy is too, as far as reviewing movies, but. It's tough sometimes. You see so many movies every year, and particularly so many superhero films in the last decade or so. I was wondering, for both of you, like, even with so many Marvel films, just cinematically, are there moments or a moment that stands out to you that sort of that you remember as you're looking back on 11 years from this franchise?
Well, I just showed the film last night as we're speaking. I teach a class at USC, and that's was the former home of Kevin Feige, the head of Marvel Studios. He's a very loyal and generous graduate of the USC School of Cinematic Arts, and he's come to my class and he's come to the campus so many times. He's just wonderful.
He brought Taika Waititi to his class, the Russo brothers to his class, like
It's
James Gunn. Basically, you name it.
So last night we screened the film, and I had as my guest Sarah Finn, who's cast every one of the 22 Marvel Cinematic Universe movies.
Wow.
And 2 of the visual effects supervisors. And the Q&A with them was really interesting, really, really interesting. And it begins with Sarah talking about casting Robert Downey Jr. And that's kind of where it all begins. It begins there. And I remember, and maybe you do too, I'm sure a lot of your viewers and listeners do, when they made that announcement, Robert Downey Jr. was not exactly a superstar. He had just given a great performance in David Fincher's Zodiac, but he was, he'd only recently come out of prison. He was at a very low point in his life, trying to get his act back together, which he did. And the talent was always there, and he just had to exorcise some demons, which he did with the help of his wife, Susan, or soon-to-be wife, Susan. And when they made that announcement, 2 things went through my head. Really? Robert Downey Jr. is a comic book superhero? And equally, what an interesting idea. How cool, how edgy. This could be really, really interesting. And last night, Sarah told us that there was a lot of pushback at that moment from people who had a say in this thing about, really? I don't know. And then they had him come in and read. And they don't give out scripts. They do not give the cast scripts ahead of time. But they gave him a scene, or maybe more than one scene to do. She said, and he walked out of the room with the job because he was the guy. They just saw it in him, that Quicksilver, intelligence and wit and swagger. It was all there in that performance he gave for them. And poof, there it was. So that's where it all begins. That's where it all begins. And it comes full circle. And there's no spoiler to say it comes full circle in this movie, because the whole movie is about coming full circle.
Right.
And he's great. He's just great.
He is great. One of the best castings.
Well, I think I have to brag because my dad just got to be a part of the hand and footprint ceremony at Grauman's for the Avengers, the Big Six. And
That was Tuesday morning.
Yeah, the Big Six plus Kevin Feige. And
all got to put their handprints and signatures in the cement. And that'll be there forever.
Yeah, I know. But if you look it up, if anybody wants to see it online, he's at the very beginning of all the videos, and you can hear him talking about sort of just the impact. But one of the main focuses for us has been, I don't think people, because it's been going on for so long, I don't think people realize that a lot of these people were not stars to the degree they are today. But that's not enough. They're all really good actors. So in terms of what pops into my head for any of it, it's just the emotional moments, the funny moments. Chris Hemsworth could just be pretty. He's hilarious, and he's a really good actor. And that actually is one of my favorite things in Endgame. No spoilers, I'll keep saying, and no spoilers. I think this is one of the more dramatic. For all of them, this is an emotional one. And so you really get to see how good Chris Evans is, how good Scarlett Johansson is. Because while some of them, Jeremy Renner, we've seen him act. We've seen a lot come out of him. Some of the others, Chris Evans hasn't necessarily had the opportunity. Chris Hemsworth, et cetera, they don't necessarily have, they don't get to do so much in that way. And so what I think about is just how much I've laughed and how much I've cried. In all of them. Guardians, you laugh like a crazy, it's so funny.
Yeah.
But again, all of them, I love the humor, and that's what sticks in my head are the moments that are just really like goofy and funny and feel very real.
Roxy, any particular moments stick out for you?
I think the first time that we saw Bucky and Captain America really go at it, that, like, you guys know the iconic scene as they're tumbling around. I couldn't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember watching that thinking like, I'm so invested in this, and why? How did they do that?
Yeah.
How did they get me? I feel so emotional. I feel so connected to the outcome of this, and it's a superhero movie. And I think that was the first moment for me that I really saw what this could be.
How about you, Dan?
The one that pops into my head is, I say this sometimes, is it doesn't always mean it's a great movie, but what makes it a great moment is when you can go back in your head and like remember kind of through your own eyes seeing it for the first time.
Yeah.
And the one that I remember the most is like I remember being in the theater and watching it is in the first Avengers movie, not the circle shot. That's the promo shot, but Joss Whedon did a shot in the middle of the battle, sort of once everybody's on the same page and the Avengers have come together. That's just a sweeping shot. It's unbroken in the sense that it's an effect shot that doesn't cut, but it goes around the whole battle from each Avenger, and you see each one of them. Some of them are teaming up, some of them, and they're helping each other. They're cooperating, and it's like this realization of this team. And at that time, the Avengers was the biggest superhero movie ever made then, because you only needed 6 superheroes back then to make the biggest superhero movie of all time. But this idea of like creating this universe and this team, and that moment was such a culmination of that. And this was long before even the possibility of being a reviewing movies for a living had ever, even I thought of it as a possibility. I just came at it as, I love comic books. I love these. I read this Marvel growing up. I read DC growing up too. You know, this was something that I never in my life thought anyone could do. And seeing that, the way that Joss Whedon and the VFX team constructed that shot, and you see this huge picture, just was mind blowing to me. I will say there was in the newest film, I had another one of those where it's just like. It's one of those moments that just kind of makes the hair stand up, and you see how they're able to realize this vision is really stunning.
And there's nothing in, as far as I know, there's no precedent for what they have pulled off in terms of
in trailers alone, in physical trailers for actors alone,
gigantic master plan. Which evolved, which wasn't a master plan when it started, but which evolved and grew and started to, cross-pollinate one film against another, one character against several, not against, but one character with another, and bring them together in unexpected ways, and sometimes absolutely surprising ways, and draw on each other and draw strength from each other. And draw humor from each other. It's an incredible achievement. I mean, you think of James Bond is the closest thing I can think of to a major film series that has had continuity at different times in its history, in its long history. But even they haven't attempted to crossbreed and cross-pollinate and all of that. They really haven't. And because periodically they have to recast James Bond, recast M, and some actors have passed away who played Q and who played Miss Moneypenny and all those ancillary characters. So they've had to reboot their own series, and it's not even a series; it's just a sequential roster of movies based on a character.
Right.
So an impressive achievement too, but different. This is one of a kind. I think the Marvel Cinematic Universe is a one-of-a-kind achievement, accomplishment, whatever you want to call it.
It makes you laugh and cry, and both are sincere. Again, a huge part of this is they cast really good actors. So, I mean, with the last movie, when Tom Holland is disappearing and saying, Mr. Stark, your heart is like ripping out of your body. And this is Spider-Man and Iron Man, but it's not. It's 2 actors giving these really beautiful performances. And so it's real. And I think that's part of it, is that Kevin Feige and everybody at Marvel, they really seem to respect the viewers in that way, that they don't just throw it away and sort of go, it's Iron Man, you'll be happy with whatever we do.
Right.
No, they've taken risks in casting. This too,
Oh,
you talked
huge
about
risk.
who they've chosen to direct, who they've chosen. That's a good England. Who they've chosen to direct, who they've chosen to star. Like in each area, they've done something different.
Instead of playing it safe, they've done the opposite. They've taken bold risks and made bold decisions. Let's get Kenneth Branagh to direct Thor. Let's get this nutty, inventively funny guy from New Zealand, Taika Waititi, to direct one of these series. They've done things that you wouldn't expect in your wildest dreams for them to do, because it would be too risky.
And when you're spending that kind of money, you can't risk like that.
Yeah.
Except they do.
And then of course, opening themselves up culturally for female empowerment, for underrepresented minorities. Wakanda has become a real thing. Wakanda is as real in a lot of people's minds and hearts. I mean, they're not stupid. They know it doesn't really exist. But in a sense...
Yes, they bite your serpent
But
tongue.
in a sense, it does.
Yeah.
It does. It
Because
seems
Wakanda
real.
forever.
Exactly. And that's a result not only of good writing and good movie making, good storytelling, but also great production design and costume design by people who threw themselves into that and made sure that the costumes and the look of the film seemed authentic to Africa and had validity in the course of a comic book movie. How many people would do that? They did.
Well, it looks like it's going to be, in addition to the creative risks and the artistic culmination here, it's a very well-reviewed film. It looks like it's going to be setting box office history. Deadline reported this morning. It looks like it's going to be the highest-grossing Thursday night preview of all time, beating The Force Awakens, 60 million. There's some industry estimates saying today's number will be 130 to 140 million. The $300 million opening weekend mark, they're saying, is a very real possibility. That would be a new record globally, worldwide. It looks like it's going to be setting a new record there as far as money goes. I wonder, we're in the moment now, but both of you have devoted so much to film history, to being I think you both work very hard in that field. Impossible now to accurately really have full perspective, but 10 or 20 years from now, do you think this MCU, no matter where it goes, the MCU to this point will be seen as the beginning of something or something more singular that perhaps other people have tried to do?
They're all trying to copy it and failing. That's the thing. Every time they try to do their own, they fail. You can't catch lightning.
I don't wish failure on anybody. I really don't. I mean, they had talked about maybe copying the MCU for the Universal monsters at one point. Well, I love those Universal monsters. I don't like what they've done with them in recent years at all. But if somebody did it right, I'd be game for that. And Universal did that back in the 40s. They made Frankenstein meets the Wolfman. They tried mixing it up then. So that's a worthy goal. It may happen at some point. Somebody may figure that out. Somebody really smart and really dedicated could figure that out. But I have a feeling this will stand as a singular achievement. It may be equaled at some point. Who knows? But I think it will always stand as a kind of a touchstone for our generation and for this time in movie making and in pop culture.
Well,
and if they make a bundle at it, besides, good. I'm not a shareholder. I'm not going to see any of that money. But I wish them well. They've earned it.
They've earned it, and it's paying off this weekend. Yeah. We'll see. The charting, of course, will be on Monday. We'll be taking a look at all of the box office numbers, all of the results. I'm super excited to see just where it is, because there is people say, "Oh, the record get rewritten all the time," which is in a way that's true. But this seems to be like it might be. We knew it was going to be big, but early results seem to indicate that it might be a degree beyond even what people were expecting. So
why do you think people care about that? About the monetary. Now, I'm not talking about Marvel and all the rest who actually have a reason.
Office part?
Yeah, because I find this really fascinating. the thing is, again, I'm doing really good with English today. A movie can make a ton of money. That doesn't make it good.
True.
In the same way it doesn't make it bad. So I find it really interesting that people are now, that like your average Joe is saying, well, the box office for blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't care about a box office. It does, to me, it doesn't. I care about when we go online. You know, we came in the room and I said to you guys, are you happy? Mm-hmm. And all of you said yes. You're all happy with the new film. To me, that means it's doing well and it is a success. So I don't get necessarily why people care so much when they're not getting a cut.
True.
You know, they're not getting any of the money. So why do you think people care?
I mean, I'm a huge box office guy, and for me, I know some people it's almost like fantasy sports where they take the numbers and that's their team and it's like a scoreboard. But for me, it's more like I just find it's almost like sociology for me, and that it's not so much what the numbers are; it's what people are doing.
Sure.
It's what are people? Why are they spending their money?
Why do people buy best-selling novels?
Because Oprah tells them to.
Well, yes. When Oprah's got.
Are you going to fight with Oprah? No.
No, I'm not.
No one's going to fight with Oprah.
But there is that tendency, though, you know, and a lot. You go the remaining bookstores that exist
All
on the
three of
planet.
them. Yeah.
You can go to a Barnes and Noble, and they'll have a section of the New York Times bestsellers, and that's the good housekeeping seal of approval, as we used to say. Okay, this is a best-selling book. It means a lot of people have read them and like them, and so, you know, you're probably going to like it too, and that's the kind of hit records. You know, okay, why are we listening to hit records? Because everybody else is listening to those same hit songs, those charted songs. I guess there is a kind of a herd tendency, which makes it sound like a negative thing, but I think that's human nature.
Look, when you made Despacito your ringtone, I knew something was up. I just said it's not, but it would be hilarious.
That'd
if
be
it was.
amazing.
But like, do you care about that?
Yeah, what do you think, Roxy?
I care a lot, actually, and it's an interesting question. I think for me, as an aspiring filmmaker, it's important to know what's making money, because if it's not making money, then people aren't going to buy it. And so if, you know, to follow what horror movies are able to do, what their budget is versus how much they're able to make, and to look at that and know, okay, that's a market that's definitely something that you can, as you're breaking in, get into. Also knowing what the wave of the future is going to be. When superhero movies started doing really well, people weren't going to say, okay, that's enough. They're just going to ride that wave. So it kind of helps you predict what the movie landscape is going to look like in the future, and I think that's pretty cool. And then, like Dan said, also the other things that go with that. So it's the same reason why sometimes I go into McDonald's and I sit there and I look at what the colors are in there. They've spent so much money to do all of the research that I don't need to do, because that's their job. And I'm like, okay, this is what's popular right now. This is what makes people stay longer. This is what's more calming. This is what's more exciting, whatever it is. So you look at it and you kind of think, wow, I only know Los Angeles. I've lived here for 10 years. And so what's the rest of the world doing? What are they thinking? What are they liking? What are they purchasing? I think it's kind of a good test like that.
Oh, yeah. As I say, it's just a funny thing to me.
It's funny.
Because at least, you know, you love talking about film, reviewing film. You want to be a filmmaker. That is a clearer sort of because this is part of our, same thing, this is part of our jobs. This is part of what we love and what we're passionate about. What fascinates me is that there's someone in whatever town in the Midwest who doesn't make film, doesn't really care about film in that way, but is still commenting on box office. Yeah. I just find it fascinating that it's something that people
and you know where that all began?
Want to get into. State and Maine, no.
You know where that all began?
Where did it all begin?
With a television show called Entertainment Tonight.
I've heard of it.
I used to watch it every week to see.
They were the first ones in the media.
So it's your fault.
To report weekend box office. And when they started doing that, it was before I joined the show, but it was in the first season, people said, who cares? Who's going to care out there? And then suddenly, they found people got interested. And sure enough, nothing succeeds like success. Actual news programs, and I would hear radio news programs start to report the top 5 box office champs of the weekend and that kind of thing. And it became a thing. Now, again, books Best-selling books have been reported for decades. Best-selling records or recordings of songs have been reported for decades. So it isn't unprecedented.
No.
But no one had done that for movies outside of the industry. Industry insiders cared, but no one else did. Now it's part of our vernacular.
Have you seen State and Maine? Mm-mm. One of my favorite movies ever, and this conversation is a part of it. And that's...
Is it at Malton Fest? Or,
It's not this year, but it will be. Our list is so freaking long.
I can't imagine, yeah.
The list of... He printed a book, wrote it. Again, this is... Malton Fest has
You're
me...
busy,
I'm
yeah.
going to be honest with you guys. I haven't slept in days.
Oh, my.
I have not slept in days.
I wrote a book called 151 Best Movies You've Never Seen. Still in print. And it's a list of an annotated list from reviews of films like this that somehow didn't make headlines, didn't get the box office numbers that they should have gotten.
But State and Maine's it's David Mamet. It's one of my favorite movies ever. I talk about it on our podcast all the time because I just love it so much.
It's very funny.
And for anyone who loves movies and or the business, you must see this movie.
I know what I'm doing this weekend.
Killer cast, too.
Oh, it's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous cast, yeah.
I love Mamet.
There you go.
Yeah.
I love the great thing about this is we walk away with so many movie recommendations.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing. You can check out Eric Goldman's piece about the Key MCU Moments, along with a piece that we wrote about the science of the snap in the description. Also, Tony Revolori, who was on Movie Fights yesterday, you saw him as Flash Thompson in Spider-Man Homecoming. He's going to be in Spider-Man Far From Home. He wrote a piece for us on Fandom.com about his journey from a fan of comic books to being a cast member in the MCU. It's a great piece. Tony, really, there's some amazing, touching stuff in there about
That's
really
so cool.
the realization of his dreams. So you can check that out on Fandom as well. Before we go, because we have a couple minutes. It's Fan Friday. Usually we're packed with fan questions, but we had so much amazing stuff to talk about. Yeah, should we play this? I'm not going to talk over the song. JT, can you play the song so I won't talk over it?
If you guys had your headphones on, you'd be hearing me sing right now. Fan Friday, go Fan Friday.
I was going to ask because that looked like Grease Lightning.
Yeah, that's
that
what
looked
it
like
is.
the Grease
Yeah.
Lightning dance.
We only have time for
Nerds.
one today, and
Okay.
this is actually one that we answered last week. But I love when we have it's almost like Inside the Actor Studio. I love when we have guests that we get because this is a good film question. Ben Lott asked, "What movie can get you to cry no matter how many times you see it?" We talked about this last Friday. Mine was I have a few, but Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Big Fish, amongst others. Roxy, yours
Mine
is-
was Hardball, and none of them had ever seen it.
still haven't seen
Keanu
Hardball.
Reeves gets to me.
Do you have a movie that?
Big Fish, good choice.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Is there one that you've seen many times that still gets you every time? Or
Well, yes, I'm afraid it's Dumbo, but not the Tim Burton
Yeah.
Dumbo.
No.
Tim Burton made a great film in Big Fish, written by John August. But Dumbo, the Baby Mine lullaby sequence, gets me every single time.
I am the world's easiest crier. Like, I can cry about anything at any given time. As my family can tell you, just it's there. I'm ready to go. So almost everything makes me cry. No matter how many times I see it, I'll cry. But stuff like Hotel Rwanda, which is just like, God, there's so many. Simon Birch, I weep like a damn infant. But truly, like, Ralph's commercials, you name it. I'm just a very emotional person. I'm very the first thing is I love love. So whenever love happens, I'm like, this is so beautiful in my heart. I hate bullying, and it really upsets me because I, like a lot of other kids, was bullied. So as soon as I see someone being mean, I get really upset about it. Yeah, but anything, what do you say, cry at supermarket openings. You just name it and we'll cry. We're easy.
They worked so hard.
Oh, do they? They work hard.
it's hard work to stock those shelves.
But that's it. Is I just, you watch stuff, you're like,
It's an accomplishment. It's huge.
Well, Jesse Malton, Leonard Malton, thank you for joining us.
Thank
It's
you,
such
friend.
a
Thanks for
pleasure
having
to
us here.
have you here. Check out the description below. As we mentioned, not only do you have links to the articles on fandom.com that you can read now about the MCU, and there will be many, many more in the days to come as we can talk about Endgame more
Days,
and more.
weeks,
With days,
months.
weeks, months, and
Yeah.
years. But please check out all the information that's down there about Malton Fest. where you can buy tickets, the dates, the lineup, everything. It's going to be so much fun. I know that you both are just deep into planning it. I can't wait to see the
I
execution.
don't know where
of
I
this,
am
'cause,
right now. I don't know what day it is.
We're eager for it to be here.
I'm eager to see everything up there.
Do I have time to say something? or
Of
are you
course,
running out?
no, please do.
We specifically called Chaz Ebert, Roger Ebert's widow, who is the torchbearer of Roger's name, reputation,
She's
and
an
memory.
amazing lady on her own.
She
an
is.
amazing
She's
woman.
a
on
remarkable
her own.
woman. But she runs Ebert Fest in his hometown of Champaign-Urbana, Illinois. And we called her and said, Chaz, we're going to do this festival. We want to call it Malton Fest, but if it seems like we're encroaching upon your name, which means so much to you for your festival, we won't do it. We'll call it something else.
Anything else?
And she said, no, you guys are like family. It sounds great. Good luck to you. I wish you the best. And I said, look, you're being nice. But if in the next day or so you're thinking about it and you're thinking, gee, it does feel a little bit like maybe they're copying my... Just say the word, we'll change it. She said, no, I mean it. With my blessing, go ahead. So lest anybody think we're just sponging off of Ebert Fest, we're not. And
Even though Roger Ebert is my real father, it is not. This is not actually that. No, and Chaz is an amazing woman, and if you don't know anything about her, look her up. She's a big piece of why RogerEbert.com does what it does, and she's always reaching out, especially with women. She's always reaching out and raising people up, and I love her. I love that woman so much. But it was very generous of her.
And we did
to
this
be
with
okay
her
with
blessing,
it.
and
Yeah.
that's important for people to know.
Absolutely, and yeah, my little moment of indulgence is the two people that introduced me to the world of film criticism were Roger Ebert and Leonard Maltin. So it's been
that's very
amazing
flattering. Thank you.
to have you here, Roxy Stryer. Anything you want to plug?
No.
No, nothing for
Malton
Roxy.
Fest. I
no.
want to
Malton
plug
Fest.
Malton
What is
Fest.
you? No, tell them about your with Kevin.
Oh, yeah, I have a show, The Tomorrow Show, and it's been The Tomorrow Show with Kevin Undergaro, and now it is The Tomorrow Show with Kevin Undergaro and Roxy Stryer. It's the first time my name, Roxy Stryer, has been attached to
Great.
something, so
That's a huge deal.
It feels really great, and it's a lot of fun.
And what kind of movies do you want to make?
The good kind.
Good.
Good answer.
A woman after our hearts. That's
The good
exactly.
kind.
Thank you so much for watching SJU. We've got 2 Avengers spoiler vids coming, one tomorrow, one on Sunday. The movie fights from yesterday, we had a little bit of a streaming glitch. That's re-uploaded over on the Screen Junkies channel. And thank you for watching. Have a good weekend. Thank you again to Leonard and Jesse
Thanks,
Maltin for
guys.
joining us.
Thank you,
and
guys.
We'll see you next time. Go to Malton Fest.